Good evening, Jacket Nation. My name is Ryan King, here with my co-host and brother Sean King. Another episode of Catch a Buzz, here to talk about the upcoming game this Saturday against Louisville at 3:30. A huge game for the Jackets against a ranked opponent on the road, which, at least since Brent Key has taken over, has been exactly where Tech wants to have their opponents. I think they're two-score underdogs as well, which is a little surprising to see, but just a little more fuel to the fire for the boys this weekend. I think we're going to go ahead and start. We didn't do any sort of recap or reaction of the VMI game just because it was VMI, but we can kind of just give our brief thoughts on that and how we think that what the Jackets did this past weekend can hopefully parlay itself into continued success against Louisville this weekend. What do you think about that, Sean?
That works for me. Yeah, for most part, I was watching the game on my phone all day Saturday. I was out and about, but I really was only able to watch the first half. But I think I got a little bit of everything I wanted. That we spoke of in our last video. So I was pleased to see Haynes throw the ball as we know he can, and defense did what they should have done. And again, a slowish start. But for the most part, good game. Think the backups did well as well. It was nice getting Philo and Pyron more time and Rhodes. I had never heard of Rhodes until he got in the game. Was it after or before Philo?
Yeah, he came in before Philo. I had also somehow not heard of him. I just assumed that Philo was third on the depth chart, to be honest.
Well, and then I knew we had Knowles as well.
Right. Yeah, so that was a little surprising to see, I guess. He
Yeah,
played
I was surprised
fine.
Knowles didn't play.
Yeah, I think he had a couple good scrambles there in the second half. Philo made a hell of a play on a,
I did see that one. That makes you a
I
little
think
giddy
it was
for
a
the
fourth.
future.
Yeah, I think it was a fourth down that we were going for. I could be
What
misremembering that, but I think it was a fourth down where he's falling down in the backfield, gets up and slings it 45 yards to the 5. So that was very promising to see. And I love those type of games where you're able to just really get everybody in there, let everybody eat a little bit. And as as I think I talked about in our preview video for the VMI game, those games can help you a lot. It not only gives you some much needed rest for the starters after the first half, if you're able to take care of business like Tech did on Saturday, but it's a big morale boost to the entire team, I think, when everybody's able to get out there and have some success, especially the backup guys, maybe even some walk-ons or scout team guys that are able to get out there and make some plays. It's a big morale boost to them because they're not getting to see the field all that often, and they get to get out there and have some fun and take some real game reps. So I think that's one of those things that kind of fires up the entire locker room and the entire sideline when it happens. So I think the game went exactly how you would want it to go. And I think it was much needed to you. I think I would much prefer having a week like that as opposed to having a bye week after the loss to Syracuse, because it's a pretty stress-free win where everything goes exactly how you want it to go and helps put the memory of that loss out of everybody's head a little bit going into a huge game this weekend.
agreed. You
Uh,
don't have to sit on it and
yeah,
cause
yes,
problems, and I don't think we do well off of bye weeks, anyways.
no, no. Yeah, I've always been somebody that I acknowledge the necessity of a bye week, but a lot of times it, for whatever reason, doesn't seem to work out in our favor all that often.
Hmm.
Um, Especially if you've been winning, it can kind of take some of the momentum out of your sails. But I think we're definitely going to need it after this Louisville game. We've got some guys that are banged up. I didn't watch Key's press conference that he gave, but did he give any sort of injury update?
I believe he said Cooley's still out day to day, and Miles is healthy and cleared to go. So
Okay.
hopefully we see Cooley after this bye week. Because like he said in his interview again, or his presser, he said Louisville's got 4 or 5 guys who can tote the rock. So, depth at the running back position is key on every play. You're getting hit in some shape or form, and every single part of the game, whether it's running the ball, taking blocks for King, or even receiving. So, definitely a spot where you need a lot of guys back there, and I think Carey and Alexander and God, what's his name that just came back?
Trey Maddox.
Trey Maddox. Sorry.
Yeah.
But having a 5th guy would be nice.
Yeah, especially I don't know how healthy Jamal Haynes is right now. He had a really limited workload this past Saturday, which I think is partially because he might be dealing with some just nagging minor things. So I'm hoping that getting that little, just very limited touches on Saturday, and then the rest of this week to heal up, he will be 100% for the Louisville game, especially because I want to say Alexander has gotten banged up also. And
Yeah, I think it
Cooley's already
was
out.
week 2.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you also, I think one of the reasons you may have seen so much of Trelane Maddox is because they might have been trying to save Anthony Carey for this Louisville game, just so you've got somebody that is 100% if something were to happen to Jamal or Chad in the game on Saturday. So
yeah, I was
that
looking
is
back because
certainly go ahead.
Yeah, because I was looking back on the recruiting class, because they were both Carey and Maddox were both 23,
Yes.
I believe. So yeah, I think Carey was a 4-star or 3 or 4 star, and then
Yeah.
Maddox was pretty far down on our recruiting class,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
he looked good.
Yeah. I know people have been really high on Maddox, so it's nice to see him get out there. I'll be interested to see how he progresses throughout his career at Tech. I think that he could work on his speed a little. He didn't seem like the fastest guy out there, but he's a real patient
Yeah,
runner.
nah, I wasn't too
Um,
impressed with the speed, but yeah, he could find the gap.
yeah, yeah, he didn't really try to force anything. He waited to find the hole or wait for the hole to open up, which I love a running back with some vision, especially Chad Alexander's kind of like that. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he'll, find the hole and put his shoulder down and hit it.
Yeah,
But looking ahead to this Saturday, this is a huge game for Tech. I feel like we may have said this before, maybe going into Syracuse, I may have said something similar, but this week especially is going to be a huge litmus test for determining kind of where Tech is going to be at, not only right now, but where the rest of the season may go from here. A win is enormous. And as we have talked about, 4-1 is kind of where you want it to be at this point in the season, ideally. You get the win at Florida State, which now seems like you certainly should have got that win.
I do.
But going into the season, that's obviously no one was thinking that it was a top 10 team, and you're probably chalking that one up to a loss coming in. And then you're saying, well, we got to win the next, 4 after that, ideally, 3 at least. So a loss isn't technically the end of the world, but I feel like expectations have grown since the preseason to realize, no, we can actually be a potential ACC contender. And this would be the first step in doing so, is taking down yet another ranked team on the road for Brent Key. And I think I'm not too worried about the offense scoring, as long as we don't come out and have the same game plan as we did against Syracuse. If we come out with a game plan like we did last week, this offense is going to put up points. I think the big storyline is going to be how Tech's defense matches up against Louisville's offense.
Agreed. Yeah, so I mean, Louisville 2-0, played half the games we have coming off the bye week. Played Austin P and Jacksonville State. I think against Jacksonville State, they actually started off kind of slow. I think it was like 14-7. Ended up running for 230 yards, and I think their starter threw for over 350. So obviously, when you look at those numbers, it's a little inflated with an inferior opponent, but nonetheless, I mean, they went out and did what they needed to do in grand fashion. Um, I think I kind of want to talk about their quarterback because last year they had Plummer, and I mean, where's he at now, by the way?
No idea, to be honest. I'll tell you. Keep going.
Um, but yeah, I think he can definitely throw the ball. I was watching Rex video earlier today, and he was showing some things. It's almost kind of like I was watching with Kirk Cousins his first two games. He's just kind of not on time with his receivers, kind of like McCord was when his receivers ran great routes, and I mean it was on him by the time they made their break back to the ball. So I think there is something to be said there about not facing a true, power forward defense as of yet, but also our weakness has been our secondary and has been our pass rush, which I've been really let down about. I don't think Romello Heights done uh, enough to make me satisfied with the pickup. I think he had a decent game against Florida State, and just haven't really heard his number called since. Um, I think what will hurt Louisville in Tech's favor is Haynes King. I just feel like Louisville has shown struggles with dual threat quarterbacks, and for Louisville especially, I think this is going to be a big test for them. Just with the opponents they got on their schedule with um, Haynes, and then you got Notre Dame. Riley Leonard can run a little bit. Cam Ward, and then you got Castellanos and whatnot. And I think a little bit of a weakness has been their ability to stop quarterbacks from scrambling, just like last week against Jacksonville State. Their quarterback was putting moves on people over his shoulder, and they didn't really seem to have a game plan for it until halftime after they came out of the locker room. So again, I think in order to help our secondary out a little bit, you can't be given I think his name is Shaw something. Uh Time to really look his receivers down and find someone in open space. And I kind of I don't know if we will learn anything from it, because in Syracuse we kind of watched them against Ohio, and they were playing 10 yards. Ohio's cornerbacks were playing 10 yards off the ball, and then we came in and did the same thing. And it just made you ask the question, what the hell were you looking at all week? And I guess they waited till the day to see in my opinion, that Kyle McCord's the real deal. Again, you're gonna have to be ready for the 3-man front. VMI ran it against us last week, and it's one of the things. Our rushing attack hasn't been up to par in my standards recently the past 2 weeks. So I'd like to see him start getting that back to where it should be and being the team we were last year, running the rock. Like I said, injuries have kind of affected it a little bit, but I do feel like the line can do better. I kind of want to see him fit more gaps, and like they were against Florida State, and put on another performance like such. So, like I said, need to be ready for a 3-man front, 4-man, whatever they throw your way. You got to be able to run the ball down the throat.
Yeah, I agree. And also going back to the Florida State game, as far as Tech's defense goes, one thing that I think that they're going to have to do if they want to have any sort of success this week in slowing Louisville down is dialing up more pressure. That directly relates to what you were saying about how, we watch Ohio against Syracuse drop back into a soft zone for 4 quarters and get torn apart by McCord, and we come out and do the same thing. It's not going to work against anybody, let alone a quarterback for a team of Louisville's caliber who's throwing for almost 300 yards a game through 2 games. It's a recipe for disaster. You're setting your secondary up for failure, just letting a quarterback sit in the pocket and, just go buck wild on you. So Santucci's going to have to dial up pressure. We did it against Florida State with success,
Yeah.
and I don't understand why we
I
seem
mean,
to
it
have gone
was
away from that.
almost too much after the game. We were
Yeah,
like, God, he was really setting the house on third downs and whatnot. And now it feels like these last 3 weeks we haven't seen it at all.
at all. Yeah. So I mean, he's got to find some sort of happy medium. The Florida State game, you were benefited by DJU being a walking garbage can at at quarterback,
Yeah.
um, but you've got to find some sort of happy medium. I mean, you can't just bring 3 or 4 every single time and expect. You might as well take the guys off the field at that point because they're
Yep.
doing nothing in terms of getting to the quarterback. So that's what I think the defense has to do. I'm very interested just because a lot of it, as I've said, it's just game plan. I I really think that that's what it's going to come down to is, are we going to be able to get that? I don't know anything about their offensive line really, but I know it's inferior opponents, but they're running for like 250 a game. So that can't be too bad. And they're a great
Nope.
offense. So I guess we'll see how we are able to match up with them. You're going to need big games from Romello Hyde, and hopefully Sylvain can get back there. And um, Trinilius Tatum, for some of his faults that he may have had in, the past year or so, he can be very explosive. So, I mean,
No,
there's,
I agree.
taking guys like that, you just got to try to let them shoot a gap and get to the quarterback. Um, that's going to be the key on defense for me. I trust the corners enough to play man. I feel like that they would probably prefer to do that. And because their weakness isn't in tackling or anything like that, it's just been in coverage, but it's hard to cover anybody for 5-6 seconds.
Right.
So that's key for me on defense. Offensively, I think that you already hit the nail on the head. It's uh, everybody's got the game plan for what to do against Tech, and that's just run that 3-man front, because the offensive line didn't show they could stop it against Syracuse, and then VMI comes out and forces them to go 3-and-out on the first drive of the game, running the exact same
Yep.
thing. So, and then we just basically abandoned the run after that and started throwing it all over the field. Which I will say, I have no problem with if they're stopping it. If you can't figure it out, throw the ball. Quit. Don't do what you did against Syracuse and just run when it's not working. Throw the ball. But you
And
would
I
think it's
mean,
something. You think it's something that we would have been able to figure out by this point. Your head coach is a former offensive lineman. I'm sure he saw plenty of 3-man fronts in his life. So that's something I'm going to be really interested to see, is how we handle that, because that it's coming. And that's going to be a big determining factor in the game to me, because that's going to determine whether or not you're able to run the ball, which we
agreed.
know is Tech's bread and butter. That's what we want to do. We want to run the ball. We want to drain clock and capitalize on possessions at the end of it. But you just can't be scared to throw it if that's not working. You've got an elite receiver room that can get behind anybody really on a deep shot, between Singleton, Rutherford, Leary. Leo didn't look the fastest out there, but he's a big body. I'm sure he can go up and get one for you. And I'd love to see Avery Boyd keep getting the rock, because I mean, he runs like a Mack truck out there when he gets the ball in his hands.
Yes, he
Um,
does.
so I mean, I don't think that Tech matches up poorly by any stretch. I was my jaw kind of hit the floor when I saw how big the line was on this game. I don't know if they're getting that little
Yeah,
like
10 and a
three
half
point
is
bump.
kind of 10 and a
I saw
half
it might have gone up
is,
to
I
11.
mean, yeah, I think it started at 11 and a half. 10 and a half just seems so high for a game. I mean, like you said, I mean,
Yeah,
I think we match up pretty decently against them. Um, I mean, their defensive stats, like again, are very inflated. I think he said in his presser they had like 9 sacks and 19
right.
TFLs. So, I mean, again, they've everyone's seen what our weakness can be from that Syracuse game. Louisville doesn't really know what their weaknesses are yet. So I feel like
Yeah,
if we can somehow expose that and hopefully be the team to put the game plan on the map to beat Louisville.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I meant to say was you had brought up how this is going to also be kind of the first real test for Louisville, just obviously because they've played a couple kind of nobodies to start the season out, and they've got a lot of good quarterbacks on their schedule. I think that that's certainly a benefit to Tech as well, is that they haven't played anybody, at least at the quarterback position, that can come close to Haynes King's quality of play. So it is probably, I think, in the first half, you're really going to have to come out there and kind of smack them in the mouth with what Haynes is able to do, because it's going to be such a step up from what they've seen this year so far. Even though they've got film on them, they just played him last year. It's still going to be such a step up in quality from the first two games that it's the type of thing that can definitely catch you by surprise if you're a player. So I think Tech can definitely take advantage of that if you kind of let Haynes take control of the game early, both with his legs and through the air. I think that you've got a good chance to come out really hot in this game, and just kind of punch him in the mouth. So
I mean, last year, that was probably one of the best games we've seen from Haynes throwing the ball.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, what did we have? 28 points in that second quarter or so.
Yeah,
And just like he's been saying, I mean, you got to be consistent, and that game definitely wasn't 28 in the second and 7 in the fourth or third or fourth. I can't remember which one, but I mean, you got to find ways to put points up each quarter whenever you can get them. And obviously, Tech's going to be coming in the game with a bad taste in their mouth from last year.
Yep.
I'm sure I'm sure they'll be preaching that as well. And I mean, call me crazy, but I mean, Syracuse hasn't played anybody, but I don't think they're a Syracuse offense.
Yeah, I guess we won't be able to say until we see it, because I don't know how
Just from some of the
necessarily.
film I've watched. I think their biggest strength is their running back room.
Yeah, but to be fair, I wasn't going into that Syracuse game. I wasn't incredibly high on Syracuse's offense. I didn't think that they were going to be as lethal as they were. Now I've certainly kind of reevaluated my position on them.
Again, that goes to our weakness in pass rush and the secondary.
And just scheme. It was
scheme,
on both sides of the ball. It was a very poorly coached game, but yeah, I'll definitely be interested to see how we stack up with them. It's one of those things where it kind of feels like this is like the third game in a row where we're at a bit of a disadvantage, because it's like we have no real film on the team that we're playing.
It's been like that all year.
It's bizarre. It's your fifth game, and well, 4 of them, the 4 games that matter, you haven't had any real useful film to go off of. You had Syracuse against Ohio, and then they didn't even really. It was useless with the way that they came out and played against us. Georgia State, you had nothing. Florida State, you obviously had nothing. And then now you've got film on Louisville against two, an FCS team and a group of 5 team or something.
Yeah.
So that's certainly a disadvantage. But at the same time, I think Rex mentioned this, they haven't had any of their weaknesses exposed yet. So it's hard for them to know exactly what they may be until they play a legitimate opponent, which they will be this week. So I think that's kind of my thoughts, my keys on how what I think Tech's really got to hit on if they're gonna come in here and at least stun the national media and the betting markets. I'm not going to be surprised at all if Tech goes in and wins.
I'm definitely going to be putting my money down on Tech to cover, but I mean, could it be a blowout in Louisville's favor? I mean, sure. Yeah, it could be in Tech's, if the defense shows up and we have a good game plan running and throwing the ball, like we did last week. But I mean, Haynes so far this year has done great. I think his ratio is 6-1. TD to interception, and as long as he keeps holding on to the ball, I don't see why you can't start opening up and taking shots. And I think their QB's like ratio 6-0. So
Yeah.
in 2 less games, he's got the same amount of TDs as Haynes. But obviously, for some reason, we didn't throw the ball in the Syracuse game, and until the very end when it didn't matter. And um, honestly, didn't get to see much in Florida State or Georgia State. Last week was really the first week where we spread the field and were able to get some big chunk plays.
Yep. Well, with that being said, man, I think we can go ahead and get into some predictions here. I'll go ahead and lead us off. I'm as I think I just alluded to a little bit, I don't think in my brain this isn't going to be that big of an upset. I think Tech played what is hopefully going to be one of, if not their worst games of the season against Syracuse. They didn't seem prepared. They played a team that had some sort of wildly made up motivation that worked. And they came out and kind of punched Tech in the mouth and probably caught them by surprise a little bit, which I don't think is going to happen again. So I think Tech went from being ranked to being underrated in the span of a week. Probably they went from being a little overrated to underrated. So in my mind, I mean, I'm going to pick Tech to win. And you just said it. I was driving home from work today, and for whatever reason, I had this random thought that I feel like there's a chance Tech could just go in there and blow Louisville out.
Yeah.
If they come out and do what I said earlier, if you come out with Haynes and you let him throw the ball and just let him eat, I think you can come out and get out to a big lead, and I don't think that this team is going to give up another big lead the way that they did to the same Louisville team last year. So with that being said,
I'd love to get out to a 28-7 start.
That'd be nice.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah. I honestly don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I think Tech has all the motivation in the world to want to come in here and make a statement in this game, and I think they're going to do that. I'm gonna take Tech to win 41-24.
Okay.
And I'm probably going to be eating my words Sunday night about that, but I just feel good about this game. He's given me no reason to doubt him in these games. He certainly knows how to get his teams up for these big moments. They're undefeated since he's taken over in those games against
And he goes 6-0.
So I don't think the losing is going to start now, to be honest. I think that this is a very good team that's very upset at what happened against Syracuse. They probably feel like they were ranked. They probably feel like they should be top 20 in the country right now or something. And now they're, dropped out of the rankings, not receiving votes. I don't care what anybody says. I'm sure that the players took notice of that and are not very happy that they're no longer there anymore. And the recognition has kind of dropped off the face of the earth overnight. So, I mean, I think they're going to go in and make a statement. I hope that the defense is able to step up. And if Santucci does bring pressure, I think that you can really mess with this guy. If it's the first real opponent they've played all year, you can get in his head a little bit, just force him to make some bad decisions. I think Tech may get a turnover or two that are really big. And I just have a good feeling that Tech is going to control this game from start to finish.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, all week, I've been thinking about it. I really don't have a reason to, believe Tech should win this game just by, the stats Louisville's put up. But again, they haven't played anybody. Tech's already been tested. Louisville hasn't. So we'll see when Louisville gets popped in the mouth that first play, and hopefully we don't relent. But I'm gonna say Tech covers the spread. Um, but I'm gonna say Tech should be the minus 10.5. I'm gonna go 30, 37-20, 37-24.
Okay. We're sitting in the same
Thirty-seven
ballpark.
twenty-four. So, like I said, I mean, I hope Buster Faulkner comes out. I mean that's the problem. We just haven't been able to hit chunk plays. And when we have, and you can get that lopsided score, fairly quickly. I think it's definitely a benefit that I don't think we've been taking advantage up to the fullest with the guys we got on the perimeter and who we've got in the backfield. So again, I think it comes down to our coaching and what they have in store, and let the guys play, or let the guys go play.
I agree. And I'll be honest, there may be a bit of bias creeping into that score prediction there. But with that being said, I am a very realistic fan. We've been Tech fans, Falcons fans, Braves fans. We're not fans of any dynasties over here that give us any reason to have very big heads. I'm confident in this matchup. I think that Tech is going to perform really well. They have every reason in the world to want to. So there's probably a little bit of bias creeping in with me predicting a 17-point win, but I'm not necessarily unconfident in that prediction either. There'll probably be other games later in the year where I'm maybe I'll take Tech to lose. It'll just depend on how it'll be a week by week thing, kind of where Tech's at that point. But
All right, look, let's wait till Miami. Then
that's yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We'll see where Tech's at going into the Miami game. Maybe I'll predict a loss then. But
I
but
mean, dude, just none of. I mean, shoot, Duke and North Carolina are both undefeated, so it's like, what's even going on?
I want
You
them to
you
rank
thought
North
those two
Carolina
would be
again
easy, and
before we play them.
yeah, that'd be nice. I think they're getting votes, so
Yeah, they're getting votes, so give them 2 more wins before we play them, and hopefully they're sitting there in the 20s for us to go beat them by 40 up in Chapel Hill.
again, just another team who hasn't played anybody other than Minnesota, and
And they
their
don't play anybody.
kicker just sucks.
Yeah. But unless you got anything else, I think that's probably all we got for this one. We're both taking pretty big Tech wins here on
Would you say
Saturday,
30?
41-24.
Oh, you said 41.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see how our predictions pan out. Hopefully we're getting on here very happy late Saturday or early Sunday.
What do
Actually,
you think
I think Sean and I may be watching the game together, so maybe we'll give you a little instant reaction after the game on Saturday.
Yeah. What do you think we are if we do pull off the win, what do you think? Do you think we're ranked, or do you at 4-1, or what do you
Might
think?
depend on what the teams receiving votes are doing, what the teams um in the low 20s are doing, or how they perform. That'll probably kind of determine what happens. I think if you
But
win, it might still be early enough in the season. I mean, this is only going to be Louisville's third game. It might be early enough in the season that you could jump back up, but I doubt it just because there's
yeah,
so
but
many
but
teams that
then
receive
again,
votes.
Louisville's played nobody, and then they'll be
It
like,
could be
"Oh,
another Florida State.
Tech, I guess, just be the Louisville team. That's not good."
Yeah, yeah, it'll be the
We're just
same.
gonna get
I think
grouped
hopefully it
into
doesn't turn into a
Tech's
Florida
not good,
State
so
thing.
that means Louisville must not be good.
Yeah, so we'll we'll see what happens. I'm not expecting to be ranked if we win, but I think that we'll be at
No,
probably very high up in receiving votes. And then if you go out and win your
just
next game against Duke and Carolina, you'll definitely be
yeah,
ranked. So
yep.
that's all that matters for Tech. I mean, you just got to win. You'll get ranked eventually, and you'll keep climbing the rankings as long as you keep winning. So that's what they got to do. Hopefully, we got back on track this past weekend against VMI, and hopefully they really get back on track this weekend with a big win against Louisville. So with that being said, I think we can go ahead and wrap this up. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. Just let us know in the comments your predictions. Let us know what you think about the video. Let us know if there's anything we can do better. We really appreciate you guys commenting and liking the video if you enjoyed it. Just help us get this out there to more people that may want to tune in and hear what these two idiots have to say about tech. So with that being said, thanks for watching Catch a Buzz, y'all, and we will catch you after the game on Saturday.
That's all I got. Thank y'all for your support, and go Jackets.
Go Jackets.